For many people, the Spitfire is a cultural icon. It is one of the most famous planes of World War II. But how did this plane come to be the one we know today? In this short video, we will go dig its history and uncover the story behind one of Britain's finest fighters. The Spitfire can be traced back to float planes developed by the Supermarine Company in the 1920s and early 1930s to participate in the elusive Schneider Cup. In the late 1920s and early 1930s, these planes won the trophy multiple times. In 1931, in response to Air Ministry Specification F730, the Supermarine Company developed what would be known as Supermarine Type 224. Developed by R.J. Mitchell, this low gull-wing monoplane was powered by a 660 horsepower Rolls-Royce engine and had a fixed undercarriage and an open cockpit. Mitchell and the Air Ministry weren't satisfied with the plane and chose the Gloster Gladiator instead. Mitchell continued his work and Type 224 developed into Type 300. This was in response to Air Ministry Specification F534. A Rolls-Royce Goshawk engine powered Type 300, but the Air Ministry still was not interested. Eventually, when Vickers, who by then had acquired Supermarine, changed the engine from the Goshawk to the new Rolls-Royce PV12 Merlin engine, that the Air Ministry became interested. Specification F3734 was written up for the new plane, and on the 3rd of January 1935, the Air Ministry signed the contract for the prototype. After a year of building, the first prototype flew on the 5th of March 1936 by Vickers test chief pilot Joseph Mutt Summers. On June the 3rd, the Air Ministry placed an order for 310 Spitfires. Unfortunately, on the 11th of June 1937, R.J. Mitchell passed away, only seeing the fighter flown once. He would be succeeded by Joseph Smith. The first Spitfires to reach RAF squadrons arrived on the 4th of August 1938 to number 19 and 66 squadrons at Duxford. These Spitfires were put through 400 hours of flight to see if they would hold up in battle, and were flown continuously from dusk to dawn. These early planes, although an improvement, they were far from perfect. Henry Cozens, squadron leader of 19 Squadron, found that the early Spitfires were difficult to start. The Merlin engines leaked oil terribly, and when pumping up the undercarriage, it was all too easy to rasp by knuckles on the side of the cockpit. The bubble canopy was also added for tall men who found that the normal canopy wasn't tall enough. By September the 3rd, 1939, the RAF had taken delivery to 306 Spitfires. War was declared on Germany on the 3rd of September 1939. The first action came on the 6th of September when Spitfires from Hornchurch Airfield were scrambled and told that 2 Hurricanes from Northfield were enemy planes. Both Hurricanes were shot down by the Spitfires, killing one of the pilots. The first action against the enemy came on October the 16th, 1939, when Spitfires of No. 602 and 603 Squadron intercepted a small force of German Junkers 88 attacking shipping in the Firth of Forth. 2 of the German bombers were shot down, and 1 left damaged after it was chased out to sea with only 1 engine running. During this time, the Spitfire would have its first encounters with its greatest rival, the Messerschmitt 109. These 2 fighters would come face to face many times in the ensuing months and years. The Spitfire's moment of fame came in the summer of 1940 during the Battle of Brenham. It was here that the Spitfire made its mark and proved to be an extremely valuable fighter. With the Hawker Hurricane, it defended the skies of England and defeated the far superior Luftwaffe, turning the tide of the war. It was the first time the Nazi war machine had been defeated. From the beginning of 1941, with the RAF going on the offensive, the Spitfire was heavily involved in fighter sweeps over France. Here it took up such roles as ground attack and photo reconnaissance, as well as retaining the traditional fighter role. It was also during these fighter sweeps that it came up against its biggest match, the Focke-Wulf 190. Originally, this German fighter could outperform the Spitfire Mark V's at the time, causing significant worry within fighter command. Spitfire casualties started to increase at a staggering rate. Focke-Wulf ace Joseph Pips Priller scored 68 of his 101 kills against Spitfires, making him the highest scoring Spitfire killer in the Luftwaffe. However, Supermarine developed the Mark 9 and Rolls-Royce developed the Merlin 61 series engine into versions that were optimized for low, medium and high altitude to level the playing field. In 1942, the first Spitfires flew and fought outside of Britain, and in 1943, the first Griffin Power Spitfires Mark 12s entered service with No. 42 Squadron. The Spitfire took on the role as fighter protection for bombing raids into mainland Europe. However, even with dropped tanks, the Spitfire lacked the range and was soon replaced by the P-47 Thunderbolt or P-51 Mustang. It wouldn't be until after D-Day, operating from airstrips within France, that it could resume this role. The Spitfire was used all throughout the liberation of France and in the liberation of Germany, and on the 5th of October, Mark 9Bs of 401 Squadron were credited with the first Allied plane to shoot down an Me-262. A notable development of the Spitfire was the Seafire, a high-performance carrier-based aircraft. Early Marks differed from Spitfires by having an arrestor hook and local fuselage strengthening, and later models introduced folding wings. It started service in June of 1942 and would be developed into 8 different marks. It was compromised by a weak undercarriage that was never designed for carrier-based landings. However, it would see the war through, operating with the Pacific Fleet right up to VJ Day. Spitfires would see action in all theatres of war, from the skies over Europe to the defence of Malta, playing a vital role, to the Australian outback, to the jungles of Burma, to the desert of North Africa. The Spitfire struggled in the Pacific War due to conditions and the range the battles were taking place. After the war, the Spitfire saw action in the Indo-Pakistan War, as well as the Arab-Israeli War. With production ending in 1949, it would become the only Allied plane to be manufactured from the start to the end of the war. Post-war, the Spitfire ended RAF service in 1952, but would go on to serve many air forces worldwide, with some keeping the Spitfire well into the 60s. In all, the Spitfire went through 24 different versions, and between it and its carrier-based brother the Seafire, more than 22,000 were built. It was a truly remarkable fighter that saved Britain in its darkest hour. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment for more future content like this.